Manufacturing. We're out here today at our MP32 sawmill, and I want to talk about and demonstrate, show about how to adjust your roller guides. And this will be the same really on any sawmill that's out there. If you have roller guides, whether it's our AC36 or some other brand sawmill, if you have roller guides, the adjustments will be the same principles for sure. Now, I've already got the machine, and we've showed in a previous video about adjusting and getting your tensioning right. So I've got this blade, it's already tight and tensioned up, and so I want to get in here and show you how we go about adjusting out the roller guides so that your blade is running parallel with the bunk bed, and we'll talk about that. First thing I do, and this would be again with any machine, I try to get my roller guide in fairly close proximity to where I'm going to be sawing most of the time. I may have a small log in here, and especially with a manual guide arm, I'm not going to move that thing around a whole lot. So I'm going to leave this one set right here, but I can saw a lot of my wood, especially on this sawmill, even if it's a bigger log and I'm trimming off the top and rolling. When I get down and I'm down in a 10, 12 or smaller, I'll leave that roller guide right there. So I'm going to adjust my roller guide there. But if I did want to move it in, it would still be close, or if I moved it out, I'm kind of working from a center point of where I would if I moved in or out, rather than being all the way out or all the way in and adjusting it. I want to be at a place where I'm using it probably most of the time, or in that general area. So I think that's important and helps out. Well, I'm going to step inside here and show you a little bit more about these guides and how we set them up. One of the first things that we do is we want to know that our blade, that I've got this one pushed down the same as this. In other words, this blade here in this area needs to be running parallel with this bunk right here. Now out here, because I have pushed down and put down pressure, we do about 1/4 of an inch. The least down pressure you can put, the better it is for the blade, but we find most people you need to put about 1/4 of an inch to make sure that they're rolling good. You see, when I turn this roller here, I'm actually moving the blade just a little bit. I can slip it on it, but I've got enough pressure there I can move that blade, and that's true on either one of them. If you don't have enough pressure, you will the blade will turn and it won't turn the roller good. And that would, you could then put a little more, increase the down pressure on one side or the other, and all that has to do with your setups and everything too. But once it comes out from here, it actually goes up, because this is a lower point. It goes up a little bit, and then around the wheels and around, and then down a little bit to this, and then we become flat or parallel with this bed right here. So that gives you a square cant by doing that. So that's the first thing. And I use, a lot of times we use a level just because it'll sit up here and not flop around, but the straight edge is all I'm doing. A tubing, something that's square and flat, is all I'm after. I'm not looking at the bubble at all on this. So I just measure down to it on the back of the blade, and I'm at 7.5 inches, and I measure up fairly close to the roller guide on this side, and then I'll move across, and on the inside again, I don't want to get out here, I want to be on the inside in this straight part, and I'll measure down, and when they're adjusted right, it should be the same. If I was a little higher, then I would screw down right here. I'd loosen this jam nut here, and then I would screw down on this jam nut right here and screw down on it. And that would push this down. Those two bolts right here are together on the inside of this, and these nuts just move this down, up and down. There's a slot in the back, and that moves it up or down. So that gives you your down pressure. If I was a little too low, I would back up a little bit here. I always start on the stationary side. In other words, the guide arm that's not the movable side. This one will move in and out. This one's stationary. That's where I start, and really on the drive wheel side. And that would be maybe specific to our MP32. Some of the others that might have this side movable, you'd have to see what their manual exactly says about that. But anyway, we want to get it on all of them. You want this to run parallel with this bed. And that's all you do is you check it here and then over here. If it's the same measurement, then you're running parallel, obviously. So once I have that done, then we put on our blade alignment tool. If you don't have one of these, they're not very expensive. I can't remember the price. I want to think in the $20 or $30 range, something like that. But you want to get one of these or have one, and you just put it on the blade. And I want to put this right in the center. I've made a little mark with my ink pen, actually, a magic marker or anything, so that we're not weighted down this way or this way. And I'm going to do essentially the same thing here, but I want to know that this blade is running parallel now from this bunk and down the log. So by using this, we've exaggerated. This is 16 inches. We've exaggerated this 1¼ inch blade to 16 inches. So I don't want that blade, and you can see I'm pushing this down. I don't want it tilted down like that. I don't want it tilted up like that. Obviously, if it was tilted up like that, when you hit the log, boom, it wants to go up. If it's tilted down, it wants to go down. And so by adjusting this, and with our spring tensioner that we have set up so that once we tension, we're against a spring, we can enter the cut at our full regular cutting speed and not go up or down. If you're entering the cut and it's tending to go up, you probably are tilted up just a little bit in the front. And regardless, I would say, if everything else seems to be right, we talk about the tilt of the wheels and things that give us a little advantage. But if I was sawing and everything seemed to be working good, except for it just want to rise a little bit as I enter, I would tilt this down maybe a 1/16 of an inch, maybe a 32nd, just a little bit down, and see if that solved my problem. So you can do some adjusting. This is not really lead. Some of the old time sawyers on the circle saws, we had to put lead in the saw, but it has some similarities to that. So what I do is I measure. You measure on the back. You got to make sure you're not on a set tooth. We want to be in the gullet, and that's where I am on this blade, not even on where it's starting up. I also want to just tighten this by finger tight. Don't put a wrench on it, because you can make that you can put a kink in that band. So just tighten it up finger tight, just good and snug, so you got the slack out of it. And so I'm going to measure on the back, and then I'm going to measure on the front. And we just actually put this one on here, and I'm just a little bit off. I'm a little bit high in the back. And so what we've got here, and I'll show it here, that may be a better picture. We've got a shaft coming out the back of this roller guide, and it comes into these adjusters here. And to adjust this, I have to make sure one of the side ones is loose. I usually leave one tight and have just the side one loose. And if I push down, I get a pivot point right here. If I push down here, this will pivot it up. So if I push down there, my blade would actually come up in the front or go down in the back. And again, we're exaggerating this, so probably I'd do 1/4 of a turn and then see how that works. And then once you have it where it needs to be, then you definitely would tighten the side up. One other thing, really I should back up. I got maybe the tilt ahead of myself. I want to also make sure that when I push this blade back, you see when we're running and when we're not sawing, when we're not in the cut, this blade is not touching the flange of that roller guide. Anytime we're rubbing the back of this blade, we are causing heat and friction, or friction and heat from the friction. So if you notice, I can push that back. We're running this blade so that the back of it is kind of at the front of that first groove. We're about 1/8 off, so that when I push this in, or if I'm on hydraulic and I run into that cut, that blade will go back then, and it just is not hitting that back really hard, but it does hit the back and turn some. And so because of that, I want to know that this flange, this outer flange right here, not the barrel part of it, but this outer flange right here, I want to know that it is a little bit open to the blade as opposed to closed to the blade. And the reason for that is, even though we've got a little chamfer right here, if you're rubbing and you're more of a gouging if it's closed to the blade. So flat would be perfect, really. But to make sure, because we can't be 100% perfect in most everything we do, I open it. Now, I'm exaggerating this way. Really flat would be good. Or just open it where you've got, maybe if you push this back, you've got a 32nd or 16th, just a little bit of light you can see here, and it's touching on this side. So it'd be open a little bit right here, 32nd, 64, just a little bit of light and touching here. That way it comes into it and you get a smooth entry, and it spins the blade when you're in the cut going back and putting pressure, and we don't want to gouge there. Okay, I needed to add a little addendum on this. As I was looking at this, and I mentioned, you know, look at your specific mill. On our MP32, we clamp up on this side of the mill, whereas on our AC36, we clamp up on the other side of the mill. And I was working from this stationary guide, and I had in my mind that my blade was going the opposite way that it is. Obviously, with these teeth, this blade is going to my right. And so I need to have this open to the incoming side. I was showing it over here, but the incoming side, now some mills do run in the opposite direction, and so you would want it open, that roller guide or that flange to be open on the incoming. But this one, in fact, and both of our mills, in fact, turn the same direction, and we want it open, this roller guide to be open on the incoming side, the way it's cutting. And so I needed to make that addition and correction here. So in this case, because it's turning going that direction, I want it open here or flat, but definitely not gouging in. So the things that I said applied, I was just kind of, it would have been running in that direction in the way I said it in the first part of the video. So that is done by loosening all four of those, and you can pull it in and out. See if I might show that just real quickly. Get the right wrench here. And all I got to do to move this thing, I loosen those two jam nuts, and I'll loosen these just two bolts. I'm gonna loosen it on two sides, and maybe you can see me sliding it back here. So I've got those loose. You can see I'm moving them by hand. So if I push down and get myself some slack here, I can move that back. Now I got a big gap right here. So when I'm setting it up, I want to bring it in. Probably would do it with the blade a little bit less tensioned up, but I want to bring it in until the back of this blade is right at the front of that first groove, about 1/8 of an inch. And then since I only loosen two sides here and here, I can slowly tighten up, snug and snug, so that I get them into place. And then once I get them where I know they're snug and I've gotten the slack out and I don't jam it in the wrong place, I can tighten it up very tight. So I've got them snugged up real good right there. And so I tighten it really good. And you got to keep all these things, you know, tight and jammed up. Once you have it set, you shouldn't be having to adjust it all the time. Now these will wear. They are hardened steel to get a lot of life out of the blade. Another thing, we actually grind these after we harden them because they can be little ob shaped, and so that's something that we do. We have a grinder. So after we harden these, we put them on a grinder and we grind them true to the shaft. All of that saves the life of the blade. We're just all about saving the life of the blade, and that smooths that up and gets you a smooth turn here as well. That's what we do with our metal bandsaw wheels too. We match them with our bearing, drive bearing assembly. We match them with that idle shaft over there, and they're ground on that shaft. We keep them together. So once I set one side, and I didn't really adjust that one out, but I would measure here and get that one adjusted out. just like I was showing you over there. Then I'll move it here, and I generally will just move the wheel just a little bit. So I get over here to this side, and I come in here, and I measure it again. So that's close to 9 7/8, or 8 7/8, and that's really close right there. But again, I adjust that by loosening the side one, and then either up with the bottom or down with the top, and it pivots it down or pivots it up. Makes this move that away or that away. When you get that adjusted right, if you have your wheels adjusted with just a little bit out at the top is what we teach, and what works for us. We've done it a lot of different ways, done it for many years, and we've found on a 19-inch wheel, if you'll tilt that wheel out 1/16 to 1/8 of an inch, on a 26-inch wheel, 1/8 to 3/16, and then adjust these roller guides out, you can make that thing saw at a very high rate of speed. You can control the blade, and that's what these guides are about, guiding the blade. And a roller guide, because you can tilt and adjust and do all these things, makes it better and more forgiving again to the bandsaw blade than a clamp type guide that just grabs it. You can adjust it some with those, and there's different things you can do, but you're rubbing it a lot, and then there's a backup on those as well. But you're creating a lot of friction out here in the body as compared to this roller. It's just more forgiving to the blade, and gives you better blade life. So if you haven't got a blade alignment tool, you need to have one of those, and make sure you're setting these up. Now these, you know, you run in time, you want to check and make sure it's tight. If you change your blade, you may just want to feel of it and go, okay, everything's tight and in good place, the jam nuts are tight, and you just put a blade on and go. It's not something you adjust all the time. As you begin to see wear out on the end of this roller guide out here, it will wear, and the pressure is more out on the nose. That's why this is, or the front of it, that's why this one's a little bit thicker on the front, but it'll begin to wear. And if you get, you know, even 30 thousandths, it's just good to once a month or so throw this on there and see if you're getting tilt, or look at it down here underneath and see that if your blade is touching all the way across that roller guide. If you got light in the front, if it was off a little bit at the front, this one not, it's good and tight. But if it was off just a little bit at the front, where the roller begin to taper and get smaller on the end, you need new roller guides. People ask questions about how long and different things, and it's hard to give a dead specific answer on sawmill. Everybody's conditions are different, the logs they saw are different, the sand on them, all those things are different. If you'll just look, and when you see them beginning to taper, even 30 thousandths, which is not a lot, you might try a new set of rollers, and that'll help you as well. Compared to the cost of lumber, especially if you're cutting grade lumber or needing higher production, keeping these $60, $70, $80 little rollers changed out and fresh is well worth the money. We're talking, you know, probably less than a penny a foot to keep those things fresh. It's probably less than a half a cent a foot for the life you get out of them. So hope this will be helpful to you, and I appreciate you viewing our videos.